Welcome to the Higher Ed Geek Podcast, where we explore the impact of EdTech on the student experience with engaging, fun, and relevant conversations that honor the wide range of work happening all across the higher ed ecosystem. I'm your host, Dustin Ramsdell. I've been working in and around higher ed for the past decade, focused on student support and digital experience. Join me every week for discussions with some of the best minds in education technology. We'll be bringing you their perspectives on how digital transformation is reshaping the way we recruit, engage, and graduate learners. You'll hear firsthand accounts of how institutional leaders are developing their strategy, as well as get deeper on the stories of how these EdTech tools are being built to foster better student outcomes. With that, let's get to today's episode. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another live episode of the Higher Ed Geek Podcast, happening here at the Engage Summit in Charlotte. It is a wonderfully hot day. We're nice and cool here in the convention center. So I just have to, because I feel like maybe people listening to this, we're all kind of going through a heat wave right now, but we're excited to be here chatting with a bunch of folks here with a fellow creator on the Enrollify network, Carrie. So if you want to introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll get into talk about just some stuff from the event, but just happy to have you on. So just introduce yourself quickly.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Dustin. Hey, y'all. I'm Carrie Phillips. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Communications and Marketing Officer at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Been in that space for about 3 years. Also with Enrollify, I love getting to talk about leadership and create great content about the intersection of leadership and AI.
Yeah, and I guess as a little background, because Lessons in Leadership, I know it's featured very prominently on our YouTube channel, which is really great, just some great videos on there. How did that come to be? What has that experience been like for you being a creator? Because I like just having that opportunity to kind of give that space, because I feel like I'm always just so busy creating, but then when I get to be on like other shows and sort of like, reflecting on what the experience has been like. So any reflections, I guess, of like the show coming to be and doing it? I know you're recording some episodes here, so anything that you'd like to share?
I think for me, it's been really fun as an opportunity to give back. I am where I am today as a leader because I had great leaders that invested in me. And so I really feel like as a leader, it's my responsibility to kind of turn around and help figure out who I can lift up and who I can support. And so for me, the show really gave me an opportunity to do that on such a much broader platform than sometimes that direct one-on-one conversation or contact. And so that to me has been such a treat and such a joy to be able to share some of the leadership lessons that I've learned and to be able to talk about that work in a way that I hope empowers the next generation, because we absolutely need them in this space. And so I think that's been the experience for me, has just been pure joy of getting to know that the work that I'm doing is purposeful and making a difference and helping give others a place and a space to enhance their leadership skills.
Well, and I think it's like twofold, because I think, in situations of, creating content and featuring someone, like you're helping to elevate them, because obviously, it could be like, well, I speak at, conferences or this or that, but it's like, well, it's only just limited to the few people that happen to attend my session or at that event or whatever else. So like, just curating, these short kind of, videos that feature people, it helps to elevate them and the great work they're doing. And then, you're just making this whole library available to people to help them kind of, elevate their work. So it's really great, because I think, I've been doing this for a long time. I really enjoy it and kind of have that same philosophy, and just trying to, as often as I can when folks kind of reach out, like try to help, like encourage people to like get them out there, because certainly even just like you're bringing your voice to this as well. So it's just really great. So appreciate you kind of going on the adventure of content creation and everything. But so, we're here at Engage, curious, just asking everybody sort of, we're midday-ish, kind of on the later part of day one. What's been exciting for you that you've seen or heard already, or you're still kind of looking forward to over the time that we have? What have been some highlights?
So something that will shock no one that really knows me is I'm a little bit of a data dork. And so I love being able to look at the data and to really be able to kind of comb into that and dig deep into that. And so several of the sessions have been data informed, and I think that's really helpful. We hear so many different things about this AI perspective and what it will or what it won't do, what the future does or doesn't look like. And so anytime we get the chance to look at that with data informed, I think it helps our strategy as marketing leaders. And so those have been my absolute favorite sessions, is really looking at the deep dive of kind of what the data is showing us, and so it helps us be more strategic in the work. I'm also a little bit of a history dork, so I love the opening keynote this morning. It really gave us the timeline of the history, because it helps you to see, if you can understand where something has been, it helps you better understand where something is going. And so I left that session that really gave us a timeline on what AI has looked like in the past to really thinking of, there's some really unique opportunities that we are seeing, and what a unique time and space that we find ourselves to be able to explore this.
Yeah, I brought that up. I recorded with, I'm sure many folks familiar with Devin Ferguson. I brought that up because we were fresh off the keynote, and it was like, I was a history major in undergrad, so I appreciate that of like, we all exist in sort of the, context of what became before us, and like that idea of like human beings have been kind of fascinated with that notion of sort of the automaton, the robot, the, kind of, what AI is. I think, especially at this moment, I think that really helpful kind of assistant and amplifier and augmenter. So I think, putting that in kind of the whole context of space and time, it was really cool. And I think, because I think that's part of it. I think if people, to kind of segue into my next question, like, the idea of AI, it became kind of more endemic or normal, so kind of fast and furious and quickly, but I think to some people's perception, it was this like foreign, new, different thing. And I think we all kind of have had, just with technology over our lives, sort of, whether we tend to be like an early adopter or not. So what I'm trying to kind of amplify here with my episodes that I'm recording is like giving folks time to kind of share like what their journey has been with AI, if they were kind of, early adopter or otherwise, and just like what they, what resources or what kind of methods they use to kind of, like what this event is trying to do, kind of start to kind of move down the path of like embracing AI and understanding the right ways and the right times to use it and that sort of thing. So all that to be said, what are some kind of details of your own journey with embracing AI?
So I would say in terms of kind of that moment that we had about a year and a half ago now, where AI really became open source in the sense of ChatGPT, I would say that was really where I was kind of an early adopter. That was a galvanizing moment for me. And so, we have a university account that we're able to do some things. We've created some great custom GPTs that we're using in the university space. Those are all things that I have built. And so things that have been really fun for me to explore. I also think that it's really helped me to be a better thinker. So one of the things that I am doing with Enrollify right now is we are doing a blog series. And so I have every single month, I started it a couple of months ago, and so every single month I'm coming up with 10 use cases that higher ed marketers can use AI for. And so it has challenged me to A, be creatively thinking about it, but B, it has helped me to kind of codify some of the things that I've just been inherently doing that hadn't really put some time and space around to really think through, this is really pretty forward thinking or whatever. So, we have, for our university, we have taken common data set data, plugged that in, and have built a prospective focus group of students and graduate students so that we can then plug that same thing back in and say, okay, does this make sense for, does this landing page on a website, does it meet the needs of what our student is? And so we're using it in some ways like that. Personally, using it a lot for personal, my husband and I love to travel, and so we've used it to help us organize our agendas for trips abroad, but also used it in places to say, okay, we're going to be in this neighborhood. We will have been exploring all day. We're going to want a casual dinner. Where's a great place? Give us some recs. And so using it that way, my favorite way, and this is, so dorky, but I have a lot of allergies, and so I have built my own allergy GPT. So when I go into a store, I can plug in the ingredients of a product, and it'll tell me if I'm allergic to it or not. And so love being able to use it to make my own life better as well.
Yeah, because I think there's like layers there of like, the specific things that I think, like it is really important to help nurture like the better understanding and kind of just like the literacy with this of like, sometimes it's just like, how are you asking questions of it? Like just the prompting and that kind of like way that you're engaging with these platforms. And then like, if you're building like a custom GPT, obviously that can just like really make the outputs from it way better and more efficient and all that. And then, obviously there's a lot of like personal and professional use cases. And I think just like being like, you're fully capable of doing all those things yourself, but it's just like, I'd rather be doing anything else. So if I could just, delegate that. But I think that idea of, again, how sort of fast this transition has been happening and acknowledging that folks are, again, going to be in very different places in their journeys, and just like, you being able to kind of connect those dots and like what feels very routine and familiar to you, being like, well, hold on, let me just like write all this down and all that, because I'm just like talking to people here that like, there's certain things in our lives where it's like, nobody teaches you how to listen to podcasts of like, well, how do you
Right.
like, manage like platforms and kind of organize things, or like, how do you use all the different features in like iMessage or your texting thing? Cause you can like, well, you can react and reply, you can do this and like,
Yeah.
nobody really teaches it. So like, you do have to like pursue it, but then like, where is it? How accessible is it? So I think like, I guess just, I don't know if in the past, I'm just following my curiosity here with this sort of follow up, but like, you're embracing content creation with lessons in leadership and all that. And then like sort of, making a blog post of like, getting really kind of fundamental with, how to use AI. Like, has that been something that you like always feel comfortable with, I guess, because it's like essentially teaching. I mean, it's the idea
Yeah.
of like, I'm trying to deliver a concept to you in this, whatever the modality of content is, but like, has this been something that you're always sort of like had an affinity towards?
I think for me, I have a curiosity. One of my core values is learning. And so learning takes a lot of different forms and a lot of different outputs. So I think whenever I see something new in the market, I really want to learn what it is and how it works. That's just innate into who I am. And so as part of that, AI has kind of been one of those new things that is it 100% comfortable? No. And a lot of times I feel like I'm sometimes having to figure things out that maybe should just be automatic, but they're not for whatever reason. And so one of the things that I force myself to do is I calendar time every week that I spend learning something new. And that really helps me. I find that as a leader, it's really hard to lead teams and to engage teams and to challenge and push teams if you're not self-fulfilled. And so you can't tell on me though, but I have on my calendar, I have the LMAC. And so I have this every week on my calendar. It sounds very official if folks across campus look at my calendar and see what it is, but it stands for the Leave Me Alone Committee. And that is just time that I can plug into, test a new AI tool or play with how something works in AI or catch a great, recording of a session I missed here and really learn. And I find that you just have to force yourself to do that. But I think it is rooted in the fact that learning is just fundamental to who I am.
Well, and I think kind of to the point that I was making, like that sort of reinforces, I think, like, the kind of classic phrase of like, to teach is to learn twice kind of thing. So like you're kind of consuming all this stuff. And if you're like, well, I'm using these tools and I'm seeing these results, like, let me sort of like solidify that learning by like kind of relaying it. And, and it is just sort of like it's a generous spirit kind of thing of just sort of like, I don't want to hog all this. I want to, give it away. So appreciate you for doing that and everything. And I think, with all of this being said, because I feel like it's kind of, perfectly setting up kind of the final question that I've just been asking everybody. And I just like to ask everybody for all of my interviews and stuff, but just like, what is some advice that you would give to other higher ed leaders right now? I mean, like the, AI, with or without it, but like, there's just so much turbulence right now. I think it's just always the word that I use for like this moment in higher ed. So, and just kind of the roller coaster of AI is its own thing. So just generally just advice that you would give to higher ed leaders that are navigating this moment to kind of just bring us home. Final thought.
I think the moment is to take a breath and think about what's strategic and think about what's urgent. And I think sometimes those are two very different things. And I feel like sometimes we can get so caught up in what is urgent that the strategic really begins to overwhelm us. And so I think it's really important that we pause, recognize that this is a moment to have a strategic shift in so many different avenues right now. But think about the strategic importance of where we are right now and how we can use this opportunity and make the most of it. And I think when you do that, it helps you to kind of put some of that urgency in context and helps us to continue the great work that we're all trying to do. And that's to advance higher education and make sure that more people are able to experience the transformative power of a life-changing degree.
That's very well said, I think. Because I think you can get stuck in a loop of just all the urgent things and you don't really give the time for strategic stuff. And I think, AI can serve a role in trying to, just all these sort of like, frequently asked kind of question things that come up. If you can certainly, it's great if you can acknowledge if there's some moment in time where both those things overlap of like, this is a urgent strategic thing that we need to, address. But yeah, I mean, that might take some kind of deliberate kind of meditation and time and reflection to kind of just be like, wow, okay, yeah, we've been doing too much of, so it could even be, I guess, the other side of just like, oh, we've been kind of having all these high-minded debates about who are we, what should we do? And it's like, there's a lot of things that aren't getting resolved. There's a lot of like people that are like complaining or giving feedback. And you're like kind of, seeming to be ignoring it. But, we've often get with these answers a lot of sort of like, your North Star should be blank as you're trying to do, X, Y, or Z. And I think that, to anybody, I think can be just a really powerful way to determine priorities and how you might, delegate things, whatever else, like what is strategic, what is urgent, and, kind of go from there. So just appreciate you, all that you've shared, all that you do, the content you create, and for hanging out for this episode. What ways to connect with you in the show notes. So yeah, just thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Geek podcast. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly in your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.